Suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Make it end. Make it end.
What if Candace Owens didn't even bat an eye when Meghan Markle publicly accused the royal family of racism? She remained unfazed when Meghan insisted that the palace had silenced her. But everything changed the moment someone quietly asked, "What about the child she left behind?" Candace suddenly paused and then did what nobody else had the courage to say. She boldly stated, "Abandoning your own child is an entirely different matter." That single observation shattered the carefully crafted image Meghan had presented to the world. Suddenly, this wasn't about sparkling tiaras, gossip-filled tabloids, or even high-profile Netflix interviews. The story hinted at something far more sinister. Whispers that long before Meghan became a duchess, she may have lived a completely different life, as a teenage bride and perhaps even a young mother. If that were true, this isn't mere celebrity speculation. This could very well be the long-lost chapter of Meghan Markle's life, a part of her past she has desperately tried to erase for almost 3 decades.
For something to like about her, and it's so hard.
The rumors don't begin in Buckingham Palace. Instead, they take us back decades to a small weathered chapel in Las Vegas in 1994. At that time, Meghan had just graduated from Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles. While her classmates were busy celebrating senior trips, decorating dorm rooms, and capturing those final teenage memories and photos, Meghan seemed to be plotting a very different path. Forget about European vacations or carefree days at the beach. According to insiders, she quietly boarded a plane to Nevada. There were no flashing cameras, no designer gowns, just 2 family witnesses, a close friend from Chicago, and vows exchanged in complete secrecy. The groom, Joe Giuliano, was a calm and dependable young man, raised in a traditional Italian-American household. Unlike Meghan, Joe had no Hollywood dreams or ambitions for the spotlight. His focus was on stability, maintaining privacy, and honoring family values. He believed in marrying young, starting a family early, and keeping life discreet and away from public scrutiny. These principles, however, were in contrast with Meghan's growing ambitions. Even at that young age, Meghan was already talking about attending Northwestern University, stepping onto stages, facing cameras, and chasing fame. Dreams that would eventually take her far away from the grounded, traditional life of her Chicago upbringing.
You trying to be a human. I've never seen this sort of. I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
Yet, in that small Vegas chapel, Meghan and Joe stood side by side, exchanged their vows, and appeared to seal a lasting bond. But that bond didn't endure. Just a few months later, something happened that turned what seemed like a teenage decision into a far more serious situation. Sources close to the Giuliano family claim that Meghan became pregnant. By the middle of 1995, they say a baby girl was quietly born in Chicago, not in front of Hollywood cameras or tabloid headlines, but safely under the roof of the Giuliano family. And this is where the silence begins. According to these insiders, Meghan made a difficult choice. She would not raise the child herself. Instead, Joe's family stepped in to care for the baby, while Meghan walked away, leaving the chapter of her early motherhood as if it had never existed. There was no official adoption, no custody agreements, just complete and total silence. That silence grew even louder when Meghan reportedly filed for an annulment, a record so tightly sealed in Clark County that officials refused to confirm or deny its existence. Publicly, Meghan described those years as a gap year, claiming she traveled, explored the world, and discovered herself before eventually heading off to Northwestern University. But when investigators looked deeper, they found nothing. No legal paperwork, no visa stamps, not a single verified photograph, only an empty void. And that very void seemed to align perfectly with the long-whispered rumors of a hidden child, a secret carefully kept from the public eye. The Giuliano family, for their part, never ran to the tabloids or tried to profit from Meghan's rise to fame. They remained completely silent. And ironically, that silence only made the rumors harder to ignore. Neighbors remembered seeing a young girl at Giuliano family gatherings, never formally introduced as a niece or a cousin, just quietly present. And when anyone asked, relatives would simply reply, "She's one of ours." And that was the end of the conversation. That kind of quiet discretion was unusual. Most families love to share milestones, post baby photos, celebrate birthdays, or include children in school newsletters. But for this particular child, insiders insist there was none of that. No paper trail, no public acknowledgement. Just a young girl quietly growing up within the Giuliano household, almost as if she were meant to remain invisible to the outside world.
For Meghan, this arrangement wasn't merely a family matter. It acted like an eraser, allowing her to step forward into the next chapter of her life without carrying the weight of her past. But Candace Owens' reaction tore that carefully hidden chapter right back into the public eye. On her show, Owens didn't merely challenge Meghan's official timeline, she exposed the cracks in the story that had long been kept under wraps, forcing viewers to confront questions that Meghan had spent decades trying to keep buried. She stared straight into the camera and voiced the question that no real commentator had ever dared to ask: what kind of mother would walk away from her own child? That one powerful question landed harder than any gossip about tiaras, Netflix deals, or palace controversies. This was no longer mere palace drama. It was about family, responsibility, and the choices that define a person. Online, the reaction was immediate and explosive. TikTok creators quickly clipped Candace's shocked and incredulous reaction, looping it alongside Meghan's smiling red carpet photos, creating a stark and striking contrast that fueled discussions and debates across social media platforms everywhere.
Reddit threads exploded as users began comparing Meghan's polished public biography to the massive gap in her life between 1994 and 1995. One viral comment seemed to capture the mood perfectly. "We laughed at palace drama, but this is different. This isn't about palace politics, this is about blood." Even mainstream commentators, many of whom had previously dismissed Meghan's controversies as overblown PR tactics, suddenly started asking questions they had never considered before, unable to ignore the possibility that something significant had been hidden for decades. If there really was nothing to hide, then why was that annulment kept completely sealed? Why claim a gap year of travel that no one could ever verify? And why does that missing period line up so perfectly with the whispers about a child in Chicago? The stark contrast between Meghan's polished public image and the Giuliano family's tight-lipped silence is exactly what made Candace's words go viral. For the first time, the conversation shifted. People weren't debating Meghan's feud with Kate or whether the palace had treated her unfairly. They were questioning the one role Meghan had always leaned on for sympathy and credibility: her role as a mother. And suddenly, one question grew louder than all the rest. What would happen if the daughter who had been kept hidden for 30 years finally stepped into the light? The summer of 1994 should have been Meghan Markle's shining moment. She had just graduated from Immaculate Heart High School, and her friends were buzzing with excitement, planning trips, gossiping about crushes, and dreaming about college life. But Meghan, according to sources connected to the Giuliano family, wasn't lost in daydreams about beaches or carefree adventures. Instead, she was focused on something far more serious: planning a wedding. Las Vegas, July 1994, the secret ceremony that would change the course of her early life. Not the glitzy Las Vegas Strip with its bright neon lights and bustling shows, but a small, tucked-away chapel. Witnesses recall the scene vividly. No photographers, no bridesmaids, no elaborate floral arrangements. It was just Meghan, Joe Giuliano, and a quietly whispered ceremony that lasted only a few minutes. A teenage marriage, sealed with vows that were almost immediately buried from public view. Just months later, Meghan filed for an annulment. But unlike most annulments, which remain part of public records, this one was locked away tight. Even today, officials in Clark County refuse to confirm whether it ever existed. That very silence only fueled further speculation and curiosity, leaving more questions than answers.
Because if this had been merely a teenage mistake, a brief act of youthful rebellion, why go to such extreme lengths to erase it entirely? Meghan's official biography covers it with a single tidy line. Graduated in 1994, took a gap year, and then enrolled at Northwestern University in the fall of 1995. Too neat, almost suspiciously simple. Meghan herself repeated this story countless times, saying she traveled, discovered herself, and explored the world before beginning college. Yet when researchers tried to verify her claims, there was nothing. No travel records, no photos, no evidence at all. That conspicuous absence only deepened the mystery surrounding that missing year. No exchange programs, no visa stamps, no photographs, just an empty, unrecorded space in her timeline. And that empty space aligns perfectly with the whispers about what allegedly happened next. Reports suggest that Meghan became pregnant in late 1994. By the middle of 1995, a baby girl was reportedly born and quietly raised under the roof of the Giuliano family in Chicago. According to one family member, the arrangement was straightforward. Joe's family would take care of the child, while Meghan would step away entirely. There were no court papers, no custody battles, and no official documents that could ever legally connect her to the child, leaving the story completely hidden from public view.
The same eyes, the same facial structure. But in public records, she doesn't exist. And for Meghan, that invisibility seemed intentional, a way to move forward without the past following her. By the time Candace Owens' comments went viral across the internet, the mystery of the missing year had already been reconstructed into a kind of digital case file. TikTok creators pieced together timelines, comparing Meghan's so-called gap year with the sealed annulment. Meanwhile, Reddit sleuths meticulously built family trees connecting every known Giuliano relative, trying to map out the hidden life that had remained out of the public eye for decades. YouTubers began clipping Meghan's interviews, pausing on every moment where she spoke about motherhood. One viral edit froze Meghan's smile as she told Oprah, "I just wanted to be a mom." Then, in a harsh cut, it flashed a headline, "Missing year, missing daughter." That glaring contradiction stuck like a thorn in the minds of viewers. Fans who had once defended Meghan with unwavering loyalty suddenly hesitated. One Twitter user wrote, "I can forgive royal racism, but walking away from your own child? That's different." Even her most devoted supporters started acknowledging that the timeline didn't make sense. No photos, no travel records, a sealed annulment, and persistent whispers from Chicago.
It was no longer easy to dismiss as mere rumor. Within Hollywood, these whispers weren't just idle gossip. They carried serious implications. Meghan had carefully built her public persona around authenticity. From her role on Suits to ventures with Spotify and Netflix, she consistently presented herself as a woman who speaks her truth. But this particular rumor struck at the very foundation of that carefully cultivated image. If Meghan had truly walked away from a child and kept that secret hidden for 30 years, how could she continue being portrayed as the honest, truth-telling Duchess? One producer reportedly told a trade journalist, "If this rumor sticks, Meghan's entire brand could collapse, unraveling everything she has built over the years." The audience won't forgive a fabricated memoir. In the palace, they were paying close attention. One insider reportedly said, "Still smarting from Meghan's public accusations of racism and mistreatment, the Palisades reportedly found a certain dark irony in the situation privately, but publicly they remained silent. They didn't need to comment at all. Meghan's own refusal to address the rumors was doing the damage for them. That silence only intensified the drama, because the longer she ignored the growing whispers, the more people assumed she was hiding something significant.
Culturally, the ripple effects were sharp, sparking debates and discussions across media platforms and social circles alike.
Commentators began comparing Meghan's alleged decision to other well-known celebrity family scandals. People recall Jack Nicholson, who discovered late in life that the woman he had always believed was his sister was actually his mother. They also mentioned Steve Jobs, whose complicated and distant relationship with his first daughter shadowed his public image for years. The lesson was clear. Audiences can forgive many flaws, but abandonment hits differently. It feels deeply personal. And in Meghan's case, it wasn't merely about her fame or celebrity status. The allegations struck at the core of her carefully constructed image as a compassionate, honest, and relatable figure. The irony was impossible to miss. Meghan had carefully built her royal escape story around protecting her children from alleged palace cruelty. Yet, if she had truly erased another child from her past, this wasn't just a scandal, it was a glaring hypocrisy. The internet erupted. Memes circulated showing Meghan holding Archie and Lilibet with captions like, "The children she claimed, the child she erased." TikTok creators looped her speeches about motherhood alongside images of sealed documents and empty timelines. And the question Candace Owens had first raised began to echo across every platform, fueling debates, speculation, and viral discussions around the globe.